Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of The Calling. I am excited. I have a full body shivery, although, of course, we had a short conversation before we hit record. But now, as you are in the space, and the space was ignited, and in the presence of Diana Richardson, a beautiful, dear friend who I walked by in different dimensions along the year, I'm so happy to present you here. So beautiful. Diana Richardson is a well-known author and a teacher for female and couples about lovemaking, tantric as art and as way of living. I'm so honored that we are meeting here, that you are with us. Welcome. Thank you.
It's really my pleasure to talk on the subject with you. Honored to be invited into your podcast. And it's an interesting subject. So let's hope that the listeners find it interesting.
I'm sure they would be excited and inspired. So just before we started, I was going to my shelf and started picking up all of the books that I have written by you. Yeah. So when we met, if I recall well, it was a few months after you published this book. And actually, you were the first tantric teacher I've ever met in my life. Coming to think about it, this is strong. And I remember that I was so inspired, and I was like, I looked at it, and it was a whole different angle to life. The path of exploration of this topic is endless. And one of the conversations, I heard you saying something that for me was so different, such a revelation, I would even say. A sentence that I still have, there are several sentences that you told me that are still alive within me. One of them is, the body is the bridge. And I know that from your evolution, your personal path, I don't know when the body became the bridge, but I do know that you started in another domain. You started in more cerebral, we can say, aspect of life. Would you share with us?
I was born in Part-10 South Africa, which is a difficult society. Many people. And so I really had this impulse that I wanted to do something that would benefit people less privileged than me. So I became a lawyer, 6 years university, etc. But when I finally got into the courts, I just realized this wasn't me. I really wanted a life of the hands and the heart. And I had already started, actually, when I was quite young, massaging my sister's feet, my father's back, and so on. So I just had this thing, I want to do massage. I left South Africa, I went to the UK, and I went to a clinic, and there I was invited to come and give massage. And I had no training, and the people just said to me, you know everything you need to know, just go down there. And there was already a schedule. So I went down there, and I could do it. And it's just, massage was just like such a passion, still is, although I'm not teaching it anymore. Now I'm 70, so this would have been, I was like 27 or something. A large part of my life has been to do with my body and other people's bodies. So I've massaged hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I often put it in kilometers, kilometers. I've also taught a lot of people. But what was really helpful for me was self-massage. Because basically, most of us are not embodied, right? So we don't really have that much connection with our bodies. And through self-massage, it was like discovering this body and also realizing, my God, we're all the same. Mind might be different, emotional things, traumas might be different, but body is body. That's why you can go to an acupuncture session, like I've just come from acupuncture, and this point is the same on every single body. Through starting to recognize, oh, wow, this feels good, or that doesn't feel so good, through massaging myself, and I've really gone from toe to scalp over 16 hours many times. then you start, the more you know your body, the more you know other people's bodies, because we are similar. So if this spot on me is juicy, then that spot on you is going to be juicy. And I have it verified again and again. So this gave me a lot of trust in the body. And I started to, like you said, that statement, the body is the bridge to the inner world, to the upper world, to the out. This is our vehicle that we move around in. And at the same time, we are not very conscious in that body, pretty mechanical in that body. We have a lot of patterns and habits with the body. And all this impacts our psychology and also our joy of the moment. So certainly for me, it was a process of becoming more and more into my body through giving, through self-massaging, and through also receiving. I've had lots and lots of different kinds of body.
Kilometers.
Yeah, kilometers of body. Exactly. Definitely, there's this Genesis song. Maybe it's, I don't know the age of your audience, but there's a Genesis song, I think it's Genesis. You've got to get in to get out.
Yes.
And that is absolutely the reality with our reality, is you've got to get in to get out. So many people just want to get out. They have ecstatic experiences or altered state experiences or things that move and touch them. But the way is through going in and learning how to be in, then that expansion happens, not through your doing it. It happens because you're in. So I'm totally a fan of you've got to get in to get out. But getting
Can you get deeper? Do you feel that you can go deeper around you need to get in? So if I get it well from you, from my knowing, from this aspect, when you say you need to get in is through the touch, through the connection. But can you massage a little bit this area of the conversation?
The first thing when I work with people in women's groups and couples groups, the first thing is that I teach them how to go in. And so, look, of course, massage and stuff makes you feel juicy and very nice, but it's to learn to anchor the awareness inside yourself and to hold that awareness as an ongoing theme through your day. So you're in. So it's not from the outside, okay, you touch and stroke into that. But so the first thing I say to people is just look inside, anywhere below the neck, head and neck, and just find a place that feels like home. Now, home means somewhere where you feel relaxed, somewhere where you can connect with, can be anywhere. And then you make that your anchor point and you keep coming back to that anchor point. You notice you're out, you come back. And that, after time, really becomes the ground you walk on. It sounds simplistic, but it really, really works. And also another thing that I'm very hot on is the midline. Most of us, when we stand or sit even, we slightly relax. But if you can keep your midline, then the body is symmetrical. Of course, nothing is straight or square, but it's perfectly balanced symmetrically. What's on this side from on that side. Now, when we collapse out of our midline, we're actually out of reality. We're out of the here and now. But as soon as I come here, then I'm available to the magnetic forces around me. They can settle inside me. It's not something I look for, but it's something that you're just more present, more open. So I'm constantly telling people to hold us in awareness of the midline. That means you're always standing with your weight 50-50. You're not 75-25. The moment you have a conversation 75-25 with your weight over, you're not really present in that conversation. And it sounds like all a bit Mickey Mouse, we can say it's silly. But if you try it, you have a conversation, even with your dearly beloved, with your weight tilted over, 75-25, then you have the same conversation, 50-50. It's a different conversation. You're much more authentic, much more natural. You're not so judgmental. You're also not so easily knocked off. So because the main thrust of my teaching is about lovemaking, that this is very important, the midline and the inner home, what I call the home point, the anchor point, because how we are imprinted or conditioned as far as sex goes, because unconsciously through the society, we have adopted certain behaviors. It's not ours. It's something that we've adopted. So one of the things is that when you get together with a person, this one's attentions are crossed over. My attention's on my partner's attention's on me. So there's nobody really home. There's nobody really in their body present. So that's why that whole thing, we have to invert. That thing that goes out, we turn it around and invert it. Now, that immediately brings a person back to their body, because we are making love with our bodies. So you need to be present in your body. So that is, and the more you do that, the easier it becomes. And
That is such a beautiful definition. Yes, because it's like the consensus, we can say, and the entire attitude is that making love is to each other or with each other. And in almost all relationships, there's so much give and take attitude. The survival attitude is just kidnapping even those areas of love and lovemaking and connection and intimacy, while the remembrance of the self in the unity is one of the things that makes the unity. And as you are describing it through the body, is really, it moves me even to listen. It's a revolution, I would say.
And always say you are the individual is the priority. And because, like you said, the sense of self, but that's a really beautiful way of putting it. And people think, oh, that's selfish or egotistical, but it's not. It's you need to be in your body to bring something into the situation. You don't reach over and expect your partner to give you something. You have to yourself, and one can do that through breathing, can get more chi going in the body. You can do that through the more sensitive, the more inside your body you start to realize the whole cosmos inside. There's just like planets, stars, everything constantly moving. And so if we tune into that, oh my God, this moment, any moment is magic. And if you can bring that sensitivity and that awareness into the person you're making love with, you just enter a different world.
Yeah.
And it's really the world of the present. And then
Yes.
time disappears.
Yes.
So making love, I loved what you said in the beginning about, what did you say? Oh, making something, it can change your life. Tantra can change your life, something to this effect. And I want to say, yes, your life. It's not just your sex life. It's your whole
Yes.
life.
Yes.
What we don't really appreciate is that sex is the foundation. And if we get the cornerstones, the foundation in alignment and presence, everything else above it changes. So people think, oh, I do that in my sex life, we do it in the dark, it doesn't really matter, but it does matter how you do it. And I'm not teaching techniques or anything. In fact, totally against techniques, because technique then becomes already we're doing in sex. That's half the problem we do. And I teach with my partner Michael, and we say it's not what you do, but how you do it. And so the elements are the same. You've got the same genitals, you've got the same, all the elements are the same, but constant. And the how is with awareness. And it is so simple.
It's fascinating. There's something in the air as I'm listening to you, and I wonder if you will feel comfortable to go in it. Because one of your books is slow sex, right? And I hear that also when you are using the word slow sex, it's actually present sex, right? Slow allows us to be more present and less in the doing. Yet in the collective consciousness, it's almost a terrifying, I don't know how many people know to make love in that way, or even are aware of that. There's such a disconnection from the body, so such a disconnection from spirit within. There's such a lack of being present that it goes also into lovemaking and into sex. And I add into it, when you're saying sex is fundamental, which is an absolute truth, because there would be no life without it. No you, no me, no human, no evolution without it. And yet it is not respected, honored. It's not within a ritual. It's not within the highlight of life. It is a taboo. It is hidden. It is so complex. Can you share your insights, your vision about that?
We would make love naturally. So it is our nature. But like you said, we are not there. We've just abandoned our nature, and we're now full of ideas. And slow sex, which I'll talk about in a second, but that is actually who we are. And one of the problems with sex is the goal orientation, that we think it's about having a big peak. So we work towards that. So we get faster and faster. But that's another subject.
We're going to get to it soon.
Look, first I want to talk about the term slow sex. We don't like that title, because that's already saying go slow. And then slowness is a technique, and how slow is slow, right? We would rather have had the title conscious sex. Because
so
when
beautiful.
you're conscious, it slows down. Naturally, I could just lift this glass to my mouth and drink, but if I really do it with awareness, it's slow. So the first thing is awareness, and it's always only about awareness. And but the publishers wanted the title Slow Sex, and they do have the final right, and they sell the book, so you said yes. But it's first conscious, and that slowness happens by itself. And then when you slow it, just quite naturally your sensitivity opens up. So these three things are linked. And look, we are conditioned, we are imprinted, but we can unlearn all these errors. Actually, there are mistakes in understanding about sex energy. So for me, when I was like in my early 30s, and I'm a disciple of the spiritual master Osho, right? He talked a lot about Tantra already in the 70s. I became a disciple in the 70s. Prior to that, he talked about Tantra a lot. And this is all in books. So I was reading that and I thought, wow, that just sounds so cool. And so that was the first kind of inkling I got that there was an alternative. But then I thought, look, it's not very specific, genital specific, for example. And then I came across, now this was early 80s, an Australian master called Barry Long. Both Osho and Barry are now deceased. And Barry Long did 2 tapes called, at that time was cassette tape era, 2 tapes called Making Love the Divine Way. And so I listened to those hundreds of times. And he really was very genital specific and really tough. Not much sense of
He's
humor,
tough.
but yeah, not much sense of humor. I showed the great sense of humor. So anyway, I practiced that for a long time with one person. And then I read Osho again. I was like, oh my God, I know what he's talking about now. Because I got that basic, how do the bodies come together? Look, this was all experimental. Nobody else I knew was doing it. I couldn't talk to anybody about it except the person I was making love with. And it must have been for like 5 years or something. I had no intention ever to teach. But then I was living in an ashram in India, and people, they saw that I'd vanished from the party scene. What are you doing? We don't see you anymore. But basically, I was in bed. And so then people, the word got around, okay, she's checking out sex situation. Then couples started to come to me and ask advice. And I found I could talk very easily about it because I was a massage teacher. Give me a shoulder, trapezius. I know how to talk about that. So it wasn't much of a shift to start to talk about testicles and penises and breasts and vaginas and so on. So that kind of evolved into me designing a course, a retreat, a week-long retreat for couples, and then starting to write books because I was just curious, like when I wrote my first book, the one that you mentioned, The Heart of Tantric Sex, I was just curious, is it possible to put in words what I experienced in my body? I'd never written before, I'm English speaking, so... But I sat down in India and wrote this first book. And it has been so well received. Obviously, it was possible to put things into words. Now, there's a lot of books about sex that are increasingly so. But I dare I say this about the content of mine, is that it is so different from most. Because it's about the awareness and being in the present, relaxation. And not about doing this and pushing here and pressing there. controlling your ejaculation or forcing orgasm. So I think that I can only say that is why it's been well received, because it just comes from another angle. So one book led to another, and they led to another. So I've done several by now, and now I've stopped. Got to start soon.
Yeah, I feel that this is a beautiful point also to share with those who are listening, that this retreat that you created for couples are still running and actually fully booked years ahead. So this is the time, if they choose to go deeper with you or to go deeper in the teaching and in this specific uniqueness that you have in the teachings. I'd love you also, if you feel comfortable, elaborating a little bit more about the difference between this goal-oriented orgasmic experience, reaching a certain top, and the difference of comparing to living in love and lovemaking as a way of being.
One thing that is so important is that to know that there's a spiritual awareness. It is simple as that. So if you're in the awareness and feel the awareness with your partner, love is generated. But if you can bring that even further into the actual love making and increasing awareness and being more in the present, you really can start to generate love. And I've seen it. I've seen it in my workshops. In 3 days, people are radiating. Simply because they're given the opportunity, they're given a few guidelines, not rules. Try this, try that. And suddenly love opens, because love is in you. It's not the other person. You are love. So people start to get that experience. Well, I am love. And the thing about conventional sex, we call it, is the big emphasis is on the peak, coming, for men and for women. Now, for men, that's a bit of is quite difficult, because often men have premature ejaculation. So coming is a bit of a torture in their lives, because they can't last, right? But they do like to come, that's sure, even if it's in the beginning. But women, they don't come so easy. And so there's reasons for that, and maybe you have time to go into it. But
go there.
It's just, there's so many things to talk about.
I know, books and books, but
to this point, okay, about the difference between
okay.
Basically, we're all striving for orgasm. When we're doing that, every move, every like thrust and so on is angled towards increasing the level of excitation. Actually, what we're doing is we're increasing the level of tension and overcharge, because it's not really what the genitals choose to do, it's what we impose on the genitals. And they're quite cooperative, body is very cooperative. And so this focus on orgasm and thinking this is what it's all about is a big misunderstanding, because we're building up overcharge and tension and then discharging that, and then we are depleted. And that's very clear in the case of men. With women, if we observe, we'll also see we suddenly feel disconnected. You come, the jokes man turns over. You maybe feel sad because sex was a bit short, or you didn't come, or maybe you did come, but somehow so the orgasm creates a loss of energy and a disconnection. Then it takes you a while to find your center again, feel and to the actual aim, can we say, or the body is designed to contain sexual energy, not to discharge it. We discharge it through patterns and misunderstandings. So one of the things that it doesn't happen quickly, but we do encourage people, like over time, and I'm talking about years also, it's not like months, that you start to stop coming, not as a controlling way, but as a relaxed way that doesn't even come into the frame, and start to contain the energy, because that is your life energy. And when that energy, instead of being discharged, is inverted, then it's empowering. And you just feel a lot better, more self-confidence, no doubt, self-doubt, more trust in yourself, more trust in your body, more trust in your partner. It is a shift from discharging energy to containing energy. But very important is that, especially in the case of men, we're not talking about controlling ejaculation, because there are techniques which we do not endorse at all, where you build up the tension or the excitement until it's almost the point of no return, then you just drop down, you push your perineum or whatever, and you build it up, push it down, build it up, push it down. And actually what is happening in the end to men is they get a congestion in their testicles and they will feel pain. And ultimately,
can you repeat what is happening to men is
they're creating congestion, and then afterwards they will feel pain if they don't come. So basically, this practice of building up and repressing is creating congestion. So we are very much in the domain or the sphere of relax, take it easy, moment by moment, let it unfold. Because if you are going for orgasm, you're in the future, even if it's like a millisecond. There's a world of difference between here and a millisecond ahead. So the whole thing is to that absence, which is unconsciously built into sex through the orgasm, fixation or drive or wish, and we start to balance that with presence. So we created unconsciously absence. Now we start to build in presence, and just so many ways, so many lines, softening, just becoming more inside your body. And the bodies know how to make love. So it is amazing. I know many people have had extraordinary experiences, right? That certain space, and suddenly, you're just like so in the here and now. The whole thing is just unfolding. And then it never happens again your whole lifetime. And then you wonder, why was that so special? And the only thing, but it's a big thing, is you were present. You were totally present. There was no mind. So in this way, we can consciously start to unwind all the misunderstandings and replace it with presence and relaxation. And it's very interesting. It's not a quick fix. It's not going to happen in a few months. You really got to give it space. You've got to make a lot of love.
Yeah, there's paradigm change, there's mental change, emotional change, there's so many shifts that you're going through in order to move yourself into that state of lovemaking.
There's only one thing you have to do, is make it an appointment. That's it. And then you just do that again and again, practice. It's not to say that if you come, anything's wrong, but it's a process. It's a process. But you need to keep engaging in it, and it's lovely. So it's a very pleasant thing to do. It's not a hardship.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I love this dynamic that I feel that is coming in your presence, where, you need a level of awareness to be in this lovemaking, in that way of lovemaking, and it is rewarding you as it is increasing your awareness. It's almost like a circulatory aspect. It's like you're coming to it with your level of awareness, and you allow that to open you up even more and even more.
Exactly.
Yeah, and rise your consciousness and expand your presence like a practice.
That's a really good point. And what I say is start to be more present during the day, not just in the bed. Start to feel the land at home. Your shoulders are like this, soften them. Use your body to hold you in the present during the day. Then you bring that to bed. Like you said, that gets amplified through your consciousness. Then you take that out of bed, and then that continues. So it's an slowly increasing experience and empowerment. You just feel happier, feel better in your body.
Vital.
You have a different vibration.
Yeah.
There is a lot available on the market, and increasingly so, because people are receiving all kinds of things. And it's, what do I do? Now, look, I'm not knocking anything, but I'm just saying sex is the closest we can get to ourselves. There's nothing else that is going to take you down to that cellular experience, and also address injuries. It's very healing, it's very integrating. Also, you release a lot of conditioning, like all this imprinting we had about sex. So I'm a big fan of encouraging people to start. You don't need to come to a course at all. I'm not trying to promote those. You just read the book, read a chapter, try it out. You do need to have a little bit of vulnerability and not think you know everything and try and get it right. It's a play field. One important thing, if I may, that I promised to come back to was...
Yes, I want us to come back to it.
Yes. Is one very... man and women are equal forces, and in general you could say man is a dynamic force, and dynamic means flowing. Innate capacity for male energy to flow. So it's not a doing and it's not activity. And women are a receptive force, right? And that's, again, receptivity is not passivity. Receptivity is a power, it's a force. And so we do have this kind of magnetic setup in us. But the problem is that we think men and women are the same, but men get turned on to sex very quickly. They want to enter women very quickly. Woman, because she's more on the receptive side, she needs longer for her body to warm up. So women are not immediately available for sex like men are. And then often women, oh, there's something wrong with me, I'm blocked, I'm frigid, why can't I get ready so quickly? But it's really our magnetism is different. And the female sexual energy is not raised from the clitoris, it's raised from the breasts. And I'm not talking about stimulating the nipples, I'm talking about just holding the breasts and entering the breasts, and for man also to hold the breast, because it's from here that there's an overflow, magnetic overflow, that then opens the vagina and makes her receptive, capable to receive male energy.
I do remember you also have a meditation, like a breast meditation, right?
Yes,
I remember.
That's right. Yes, that's true. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I feel that also this dynamic and the circulation and allowing circulation of receiving and giving, of opening and allowing that to open up even more, like really allowing a flow. I feel that this is one of the keys that is awakened within me in this conversation, that the more you are in it, beyond any contradiction of inside and outside, male or female, lower genitals and breast, upper part, like the more you are allowing the circulation simply to flow, the greatest the openness that is happening within you to tap into it again, really moving beyond duality, beyond contradiction. That exists, the contradiction exists, it's part of the nature if we're speaking about sex and lovemaking as a fundamental thing. A contradiction inside out, upper and lower, male and female, slow and fast, the contradiction exists, and part of this really making love is being able to take contradiction and unify them, find the unifying point.
Absolutely. Anyway, heterosexual is that the other is the doorway to yourself. So the other is just a doorway, but ultimately what happens within you is the male and the female aspects of it. And also, like the master saying, and certainly my experience, there's no difference between outside and inside.
Yes.
And in this conscious love making, you get to a certain state where you're totally bodiless. And this is where we can draw a distinction between orgasm and orgasmic. So
Yes.
you use the two words quite close after each other, but they are two different experiences if we're being really on the point.
Yes.
Because an orgasm is a peak short experience and you work for it. But an orgasmic experience happens by itself. You can't make it happen. And this is where you just like lose all sense of physical boundaries. You feel at one with the universe, the cosmos, and you just kind of melt. But this arises by itself through putting certain building blocks in place.
Yeah.
Through being present, being relaxed. And it's likely to happen when it's the last thing you're thinking about. So you can't create it. All you can do is create the foundation for it. And it may happen, it may not. But it's not like the fulfilling thing. It's, oh, I didn't have my orgasmic experience. Where conventional sex, you oh gosh, I didn't have my orgasm.
Yeah. Allowing it to happen to you and through you.
Exactly. And this takes tremendous, because of the imprinting, because of our minds, it takes tremendous.
Wow. As you speak,
it's by trust. You just got to trust your body.
As you speak, like my vision, my psyche, I'm seeing flowers opening up in nature. Like you're walking in a garden, the flowers are opening up. They're opening up in their own accord, by their own wisdom. They're not calculating how to get to that point. You just ripen into that point where the flower is opening up.
If I just want to go back to this thing, the main, very important that women's body opens up more slowly than men's body. And because of this fact, women are often, I think I did say that women think they're frigid or blocked or something. But as soon as you understand, that's, my point is actually that there is this thing that women lose interest in sex. It's well known. You meet, everything is good and glorious, but then there is a point where there's a draw, and literally women lose interest in sex. And the reason for that is because women is not given enough time. Now, when you first meet, you're very present. So the body's opening up, the heart's open, the vagina opens very nicely. But after a while, everything normalizes, not the negative way, yes. Okay. So because women are always crossing their own boundaries, meaning they're not ready for sex, but they let man inside, because we really want our man to be happy. We often put him, his needs or his wishes in front of ours. As women, we have become quite pleasers.
Also, there is a cultural standards, of course, right?
Yeah.
There's a cultural standards, and as there is no education about lovemaking, you get what you get, and you try to play with with what you get on the TV or conversations that you hear. It's like our fantasies that you have instead of softening into the understanding of how your body is leading you and where your body is leading you to.
Yes. So this interest that happens in women, it's because we cross our own boundaries and we are never really engaged. We do it, but we're not like really in it. So after a while, the body goes, it's not really worth it. So that's what happens. There's a slight withdrawal. But it's not because women actually lose interest in sex. It's because they're not given enough time to warm up and really get engaged in the whole thing. And look, okay, I say women are pleasers. It's really good to acknowledge that what men have, they have a tremendous performance pressure. And this really knocks them away from their centers, from the trust in the body, because it's all about maintaining and getting an erection and maintaining it. But very often their attention is on that, rather than feeling themselves or connecting with the partner and so on. So that really has to be acknowledged. And interestingly, we hear from the men in our groups is that it's so great that I don't have to make my woman come, because that's his main thing. Okay, he wants to come, but he definitely wants to make the woman come. And also, so the whole performance pressure just drops right out, which enables men then to be more in the here and now, more present. Of course.
Connected.
Yeah, exactly.
Being together.
Yeah.
A level of intimacy. Another level of intimacy.
Yeah. And it's just, you just feel different. And it changes your life, it changes your relationships with people. As soon as you understand more about sex and so on.
That's so beautiful. Oh my God. Diana, that was such a lovely conversation. I'm so happy that we dived into it, and not only the topic, but also the energy. We could go on and on. I'm grateful for your presence, grateful for your presence in my life, grateful for all that you brought here today. Thank you so much for this beautiful path that you took yourself, your own master within, who knew, right, everything, what you came here to be, what you came here to do, and just followed it in your own signature, in your own way, and the ripple effect that is living on the planet. It's beautiful. Thank you. Oh my God.
Thank you.